A very good evening to you all and welcome to Rwanda Television News. My name is Sam Kalisa. Health officials have noted that half of the people that need to be vaccinated against COVID-19 in Kigali City have now been inoculated, and that there is hope that by the beginning of next year, most activities in the city will no longer be restricted as more vaccines become available. Serge Ntore has the report.
Life in Kigali City's busy commercial center is almost back to normal less than a week after our total lockdown was lifted. And for those who make a living working in places like the Nyarugenge market, getting vaccinated is proving very beneficial indeed. The vaccine has helped us because our customers have far more confidence that we will not make them sick. And even if the virus was to be transmitted, you would not get as sick as a person who has not been vaccinated. That is why almost all of the vendors in the market have been vaccinated with the first jab and are waiting for the second. We are happy because after we have all been vaccinated, they will stop closing the market. We are now operating at close to 30%, and after we have all been vaccinated, we will be able to work as we used to before. Hairstylists and barbers have also been vaccinated. We have taken the first jab of the vaccine and are waiting for the second. All of the people who work here so that things can go back to the way they used to be. We did it voluntarily because we understand that it is for our own benefit and all Rwandans. Many people make a living the way I do, working for wages. And you burn through your meager savings very quickly whenever a lockdown is enforced. The vaccine will allow us to go back to working the way we used to. It will allow us to work confidently, not afraid that we might go back into the lockdown again. Almost half of all eligible people for the vaccine in Kigali City have now been vaccinated, and 10% in the entire country. I believe that you realize that most of the cases were in Kigali City when infections spiked, and that this is usually the case in urban areas because of the movements of people. Also, most people coming from abroad usually end up in cities and towns, spreading the virus. The fact that the vaccination program has focused on urban areas is therefore key. We must also remember that the objective is to protect people enough to allow businesses to resume operations at full capacity, and most are found in urban areas. Vaccinating people in urban areas therefore allows for the biggest number of people to be protected and for businesses to recover. Indeed, at this pace, life could go back to normal sooner than most realize.
Close to
half of people in urban areas supposed to be vaccinated have gotten the vaccine, and we are at 10% countrywide. That is just in the past month. I cannot specify dates, but at this rate, the fact that vaccines have continued to arrive, and in places like Kigali, almost all people over the age of 40 have now been vaccinated, and soon we should be able to do the same even in the provinces and among people in younger age groups in their 30s and 20s. I believe we will begin 2022 with many people vaccinated. Even if a few remain without the vaccine, it will not stop life from returning to normal. Despite the confidence, health officials are still urging people to respect the COVID-19 preventive measures in place, regardless of whether or not they are vaccinated.
Residents in the 10 sectors that are still under lockdown due to a surge in COVID-19 infections say the 34 days they will spend under lockdown has taught them key lessons that they too can be infected by the virus, unlike before when they thought the virus could not reach their villages. Gloria Mutesi has the report.
Kayonza district has 4 sectors under lockdown, while across the country, 10 sectors are under lockdown in 4 districts. You will find some residents peeping through windows because they aren't allowed to leave their homes. One requires permission to access these sectors that are currently under lockdown, except for those that are essential workers. Some of the residents of these sectors, especially in the rural areas, say they assumed COVID-19 was only for the people living in the cities, hence going beyond the set guidelines. And they now say the virus spreading to their areas took them by surprise. We used to think COVID-19 was for specific people, but it has also affected us and we were surprised. We also started seeing the government had started vaccinating people. We thought we were exempt from the virus, thinking it's for people eating chips or oily things. But we got surprised when we also got affected. Looking back, we didn't really pay attention to the guidelines from the beginning. We used to hear COVID-19 in the Western countries and that it was for the white people. And then we started hearing that it had reached Kigali, and because we were in rural areas, we thought it couldn't get to us. But we've been affected too. We've learned to adhere to the set guidelines to see that the 34 days for the lockdown might yield results so that we can go back to our work. Some of the sector leaders point out that indeed not respecting the set guidelines and the movement from one sector to the other were the reasons for the increased spread of the virus in those sectors. The district mayor, Murenzi Jean-Claude, says the days they've spent under lockdown have started to yield some results in terms of stopping the spread of the virus. Initially, the sectors of Gahini and Mukaranje numbers were decreasing, while increasing in the other 4 sectors that are still under lockdown. But currently we are seeing a change. Residents are now respecting the set guidelines and the numbers are going down gradually. The Minister of Local Government, Gatabazi JMV, says complacency is what led to these 10 sectors remaining under lockdown, while the lockdown was lifted in the 40 sectors. There was a lot of movement that was happening in those areas. People were serving liquor in plantations. Tumba has high numbers and the university students residing there. Gishamvu is close to Burundi, and in the other sectors of Kayonza, there are also many people working in marketplaces and making different movements with people not adhering to the guidelines, hence the surge in infections. 50 sectors across the country were put under lockdown on the 28th of July due to a surge of COVID-19 infections. And on the 11th of August, 40 of them were relieved of the lockdown, while the remaining 10 sectors are still under lockdown till the 31st of August 2021. Gloria Mutisi, reporting for RTV News.
Thank you, Gloria, for the report. The Rwanda National Police has again warned members of the public who continue to disregard the government directives meant to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. On Monday, more than 40 people were apprehended for violating the COVID-19 preventive measures. Gabi Muvunyi has more.
Among the violators are 37 men who have been detained at Rezamenyo police station in Nyarugenge district and were caught while driving under the influence of alcohol. The Rwanda National Police spokesperson, CP John Bosco Kabera, notes that driving under the influence of alcohol is a criminal offense.
Some of these people were arrested before the curfew time. When the police stopped them, they realized that something was wrong. How is it at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and even 7 o'clock, you find someone who is drunk and has high alcohol levels in the system? This is against the law. There are also those who were arrested after curfew hours, coming from bars and places they know they should not be in. The problem is people apply for passes and use them to roam around at night and go to bars. For such people, the next pass will be flagged and they will be denied another pass.
Some of the violators admit to the mistakes, adding that it will never happen again.
They tested me and found that I have an amount of alcohol in my blood, which is a mistake. I will never drink and drive again.
I
was arrested past curfew hours. It was around 8:30 p.m. The first mistake I made was I was out past curfew hours. And then I ended up taking an alcohol test, which revealed indeed I had consumed alcohol. The important thing is that I will never do it again.
The Rwanda National Police spokesperson, CP John Bosco Kabera, points out that a drunk driver is a risk not only to their lives, but to other road users and property as well.
There are drinks called energy. There are some called martini. Apparently, they say they're non-alcoholic. We don't have a specific device that tests martini, Skol, Primus, Heineken, or whiskey, or any other alcohol. We have a device that measures the amount of alcohol in a person's blood. The person is at risk of an accident, injury, or loss of life. They are also putting other people's life at risk. We are urging Rwandans to take this pandemic seriously and comply with the preventive measures.
The drunk drivers have been arrested, fined and made to pay for a COVID-19 test to ensure they're not infected by the virus. Others include those who are caught holding gatherings in their homes, ignoring directives that are meant to protect people from COVID-19. In addition to those arrested in Kigali, more than 120 people were arrested this weekend in Rubavu district. The executive secretary of Gisenyi sector, Twishime Jean Bosco, says there are visitors from across the country that come to Rubavu district and break all the COVID-19 guidelines.
Kudusura rero biremewe. Ariko kudusura wica amabwiriza ntago byemewe.
Visiting us is allowed, but visiting and violating the COVID-19 preventive measures is not allowed. We are vigilant as the local authorities. It is our duty to ensure compliance with regulations. Our visitors are welcome to come. The cabinet resolutions indicate that the hotels can receive people in accordance with regulations.
Hubahirizwa amabwiriza ariko byo bakora byose bamenye ngo turi hafi dukurikirana ko amabwiriza yubahirizwa.
The violators are fined 10,000 francs each, and the Gisenyi sector administration is urging hoteliers and other hostel owners to comply with the COVID-19 preventive guidelines. Gabi Muvunyi, reporting for RTV News.
Thank you, Gabi. Rwanda's tourism service providers say the establishment of an information portal about the sector in the East African community requires them to work harder to attract more tourists. Analysts note that the portal is going to boost tourism in the East African region. The region's tourism private sector body has launched the www.visiteastafrica.net portal that will enable tourists to plan and book tourist packages and offers from service providers of the region's various tourist attractions. Ngenzi Yiv, head of the tourism chamber at the Private Sector Federation of Rwanda, explains that the launch of the site is another opportunity to promote tourism and advertising since it is free of charge.
It
is open and free to every company. They can pass through their respective associations. We encourage them to use the platform so that we can increase the number of tourists that visit our country because the number has reduced. There are already joint tourist visas for Kenya, Rwanda and Uganda, where tourists with a visa can visit all the three countries. Tourism service providers say the platform is beneficial, but it requires them to work hard to build their credibility.
Yeah, we really like it because this is time to market our country and market our company also. So we have to work so hard to get more people coming to Rwanda. Yeah, I think this is what we were waiting for. I think also the tourists, they have an advantage for this platform because it will be easy for them to know where they are going. You can book in Rwanda. When you go to platform, you read other country where you want to go, like Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Yeah, I think it's still new. I think it was open a few days ago. Maybe when it's already open, I'm sure many people that will find them. They will know how they can find somewhere to go and which company they can use.
Urumva rero kujyaho icyo kintu kiduhuje
The platform encourages competition between tourism practitioners. It encourages development as well, because you're competing with international tourism operators. Since the launch of the site on the 9th of this month, 830 companies and tourism-related service providers have updated their activities and services on the portal. Some tourists are happy that they will be getting information about where they want to visit on one platform than getting it on different companies' platforms.
Dans le contexte actuel, avec la période de Covid, je pense que c'est important aussi qu'il y ait toutes les...
Considering the current COVID-19 situation, it is necessary to provide all the information on such a platform, like tourist sites, hotels, and everything that can help the tourists to get what they want.
Normalement, on est autonome, donc tout ce qui peut favoriser l'autonomie et les sites principaux à visiter.
Dans le pays, très organisé.
Everything in Rwanda is organized. I've been touring many countries for the past 10 months, and Rwanda is the third African country I've visited, and the only one where I found everything organized. We normally use the Visit Rwanda platform, plus consulting different tourism companies. Establishing such a platform is a good thing.
Une bonne chose, je pense.
Economic analysts find that this way of publicizing the East African community through tourism is another way to help economies recover through the tourism sector that has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
So the East African tourism platform brings together tourism sector practitioners in all the countries within the East African community. What it does, we are very lucky that the offices are here in Rwanda. Before they used to be in Nairobi, but we are glad that they're hosted here by the Private Sector Federation and the Chamber of Tourism. So the importance of the platform is to be the voice of the sector. To be the voice of the sector, meaning that they can advocate for reforms that are needed in many areas, but also speak for we know there are so many players in the sector, so the platform at least speaks for them.
Over the past 15 years, the number of tourists that visit Rwanda has increased by 600%, while the total tourism revenue increased by 250%. However, the COVID-19 pandemic affected the sector, which led to a 70% revenue loss. The hospitality sector has, however, been given 50 billion Rwandan francs to facilitate recovery. Still on this story, this evening we're joined by Musi Yves, who heads the Tourism Chamber at the Private Sector Federation of Rwanda. Sir, good evening and thank you for joining us on Rwanda Television News tonight. All right. Let me start by asking to Rwandan tourism practitioners in particular, how is this platform going to help? But before going there to East African tourism practitioners and the tourism sector as a whole, how is this platform going to help the sector grow even further?
Thank you. So this platform that was established by the East Africa Tourism Platform, it brings together the different players in the industry, the tourism industry in the region, the East African region, and it has been established to facilitate tourists across the world to access information on products and services and the different experiences, as well as the destinations that we have in Eastern Africa. Secondly, of course, due to what we have been through, in particular in this pandemic, we are looking at, we're aiming at boosting again tourism in the region. So right now we have over 800 already tour and travel operators that are registered online, providing services.
Yes.
And currently able to provide packaging to tourists.
All right, sir. Tourism in Rwanda in particular plays a major role in the country's development. For instance, it contributes to 10% of the country's GDP and, of course, 8% of off-farm jobs here in Rwanda. To be particular to the Rwanda's tourism sector, how is this platform going to help the sector to grow even further?
Right. This particular portal, as I explained, it has an ability to assist or help the tourists book directly their tourist packages through a function that is established called My Trip Planner. Basically, they are able to plan their trip online and request for the different quotations from the service providers. And then they can compare their quotations and then be able to say, I want to start my trip in Rwanda, then I can get a service provider from Rwanda, and then also get to visit other destinations in East Africa. So it's going to help in a way that since tourists who want to use, for example, the East African tourist visa, they can start their journey from Rwanda and then continue to Kenya or other destinations in Tanzania. So basically, we are looking at it as a way to going to boost sales for Rwanda and other destinations in East Africa.
All right, sir. And finally, as we conclude this interview, how best can Rwandan tour operators make use of this platform or this portal? We have a lot of companies that deal in tourism here in Rwanda. How best can they make use of this platform?
Yes, so this platform, once it is free of charge to the different tour operators or travel agents, hotels, guides, all of operators are in the region. So what it is required from them, it is to go through their associations. We have several associations under the Chamber of Tourism, the Rwanda Hospital Association, and then register the product and services through this platform. We already contacted them. Many of them have given their information, which is already online, and then also they are able to log in and also access the portal and be able to respond to any query that comes through from tourists. So there is no charge for operators at this stage, and then they can provide all the information, their products and services directly to the consumers, and be able to receive bookings from them.
All right, sir. Let me thank you very much for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And of course, moving ahead, a number of farmers in Nyagatare district are complaining and of course claiming that they do not get enough water for their cattle during the dry season because infrastructure that was built to supply it has been damaged. Ghislaine Mugwaneza has the report.
There is a lot of cattle rearing in Nyagatare district despite the dry climate there, and over there the government has implemented projects to supply much needed water for agriculture and animal husbandry activities with artificial reservoirs built. But some have progressively declined as time has passed. According to Nyagatare district officials, 50 artificial reservoirs were built, but only 27 of them are still operational. The farmers in Nyagatare district have said that water scarcity is affecting them negatively, and they request the government to rebuild these reservoirs in order to solve the problem.
You
can see that water has dried and cows refuse to drink the water. It is really hard for us because the cows cannot make it to reach far places. It is a problem we are experiencing as farmers. When it is like this, we fetch water from far, and you can understand how it is hard fetching for a cow. Water is little, and cows need more water, and when it reaches dry season, there is no water. We are requesting the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Husbandry to rebuild reservoirs for us. You can see that they're really damaged.
In order to find a sustainable solution to the problem, an initiative to introduce giant inflatable water tanks, known locally as dam sheets, to the farmers was started, with farmers required to cover half cost and the rest is paid by the government through the Ngunganire program. Every year, the government of Rwanda invests 90 million francs in this project, and 565 farmers have so far benefited. However, during the dry season, they have to utilize water tank trucks to fill the giant tanks, which is expensive. Nyagatare district officials say they are looking into the concerns.
hari damu zacukuwe muri 1998.
There are reservoirs that were dug in 1998 where people were struggling to survive. There are others that were formed in 2002 to 2003. Reservoirs that were built after those years are able to keep water even during dry seasons. There are others that dry up, which means that it affects those whom are benefiting from them. The first thing is that we know the reservoirs with the problems, and as we get financial means, we rebuild some of them. I can mention that we have plans in partnership with WASAC where we shall be able to get 12,000 cubic meters of water per day, meaning that even cows will benefit from this. There is another plan we have that is called the Muvumba Multipurpose Dam that will irrigate crops. Another plan is to supply water into pastures.
Gikomeye no gutwara cyane cyane amazi mu nzuri muri imirenge ifite inzuri kandi gahunda yo kuyigomera igeze kuri.
The farmers have been urged to care for the artificial reservoirs after they have been rebuilt. Shislen Mugwaneza, RTV News.